Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Saxton Ultimate Event Experience, and that's exactly what it's going to be. We hope you have a wonderful time this morning. My name is John Lees, and I'm absolutely delighted to be your MC for this morning's program. Let me just tell you a little bit about this event. It's a joint initiative between AIME, the largest expo of its kind in Australasia, and Saxton, the first and foremost speakers bureau in Australia. I know nearly all of you here today are involved with events in one form or another, but this time you can sit back and enjoy the experience. We have a real treat in store for you. I work exclusively with Saxton. I'm mostly involved in sales and marketing. I was down here last week with Census, speaking to 1,500 Yellow Pages people, salespeople. Tomorrow I'm in Sydney, which is my home, talking to financial planners and what have you. So I'm all over the place. That's the nature of my work. And people say to me, is it rough being on the road all the time? And I think if you were a fox with a limp, it probably would be. But most of the time, you know, the airlines are on time, the hotels are fine. And besides, when you get to travel, you get to meet different people, different customs. I even met one guy in San Francisco last year who kissed me on both cheeks, which I didn't like because I was tying my shoelaces at the time. Yeah. Now, to get things moving, because we have a really superb lineup of guests this morning, I'd like to introduce you to our first performance of the morning. Our first performers are literally awe-inspiring and will take your breath away, especially as they've just been ranked as one of the top 10 magic acts in the world. All I can say is, don't blink, or you may just miss something. Please join me in welcoming Gavin and Lydia, Soul Mystique. When I think of how long it takes my wife to get ready. No, I know, it's ridiculous, yeah. Pathetic. I'll be having a word with her about this, I can tell you. I've been married many, many years, and people say, what's the secret of a happy marriage, a long marriage? I think it's very simple. At the beginning of marriage, a man must make a decision, a very important decision, and that is that you either want to be right or happy. And, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is literally at the cutting edge, a social innovator, futurist, and co-author of the influential book, What's Mine is Yours, The Rise of Collaborative Consumption. Ladies and gentlemen, straight off the plane from London to tell us about bright futures, would you please welcome Rachel Botsman. Rachel.
Now, any speech that's about peer-to-peer sharing and collaboration has to start with the godfather, which is not Facebook, it's actually eBay. There's a popular Silicon Valley legend that eBay was first founded by Pierre Omidyar to help his girlfriend buy and sell those candy Pez dispensers. This is in fact a complete myth that was made up by a PR whiz. The true story is a little bit more geeky, but far more interesting. Pierre decided, as a bit of an experiment, that he would put this broken laser pointer up for auction on his website. And even he was amazed that within 48 hours, he received a bid for $14.83. So he wrote to the guy and said, "You realize this laser pointer is broken?" And he got a response back saying, "I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." I believe we'll actually look back and see this period as a momentous turning point when we use the incredible technological power we had to reinvent entire industries. Indeed, it will be referred to as a revolution on the scale of the Industrial Revolution, when society, faced with grave challenges, made this seismic shift from a consumption-based society to a collaborative one, from us being defined by what we consume to what we contribute, and along the way empowered millions of individuals and millions of organizations to help build a stronger, brighter future. Thank you very much.
I, myself, from a sales and marketing point of view, have written 11 books, and I'm not boastful by nature, but that is 10 more than God. And I have a new book coming out soon called How to Be Happy Without Money. It's $140, and I do hope you'll get a copy of that. Right, well, we now step out of the new world into the old world. Our next presenter is simply an extraordinary young man. He hails from Gippsland, here in Victoria, has followed his passion for adventure and exploration literally to the ends of the earth. Today we're going to hear of his most recent journey, 3.5 years on horseback on the trail of Genghis Khan, from Mongolia to Hungary. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Well, you're now going to find out. Please welcome Tim Cope, ladies and gentlemen.
When I was 20 years old, my friend Chris and I were cycling across Mongolia. While struggling through the Gobi Desert one day, these amazing wild horsemen came galloping from over the horizon. They headed off to places that our bikes could never have gone. These people had a world without boundaries. From here in Mongolia stretched the Great Eurasian Steppe to Hungary, and their ancestors were once warriors who crossed this vast space. It inspired in me a dream to live the life of a nomad and ride a horse from Mongolia to the Danube. I never imagined what lay before me. Long nights alone menaced by wolves and thieves, impossible mountain passes, and the most extreme climate on earth. I'd even be caught in a war between sedentary and nomad people and face a personal tragedy that almost ended my journey. But I was driven on by an old nomad wisdom. To understand the wolf, you must put on the skin of a wolf and see through its eyes.
Well, there was only one small problem before I set off to Mongolia, which was I couldn't actually ride a horse. A man without friends on the steppe is as narrow as a finger, and a man on the steppe with friends is as wide as the steppe. And for me, this was really a lesson that it was time to leave my excess baggage behind as a Westerner, to adopt their customs, and really start looking at the world through their eyes. And when I did that, I started to understand a bit more about who they are. They pack up their homes 3, 4, 5 times a year even, kids included. After all, like everyone on the planet, they're simply adapting their lives the best they can to their environment. This guy, Asset, decided to travel with me for the first few weeks, and when we parted, he said, "Tim, you really need some company with you to Hungary. Someone to keep you warm at night in the tent, and most importantly, to protect you from the wolves." So he gave me Tigan, who was actually leaping off the snow at that stage just to get his paws out of the cold. Tigan, come on. Come on, mate. Hey, no. Again? No! Why? And finally, there was the Danube kind of looking back at me as if to say, well, you know, you probably could have flown here in 6 hours from Mongolia. Probably could have driven here in a month. You probably could have walked faster. But it wasn't the point. By getting in the saddle, getting on that horse, it was the only reason that the Danube really meant something to me. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Boy, what a story. Tim, I'm sure one question on everyone's mind, certainly on mine, is what happened to Tiggin?
Well, unfortunately, at the end, I had to actually abandon Tiggin and all the animals. In fact, it was going to cost $10,000 to get him out, and it was going to take 12 months of bureaucracy, so I left him behind. I used to get these phone calls from the farmer who I left him with, and he used to say, oh, yeah, he's chased a horse cart for half a day. He's just taken all the farm dogs to the nearest town. We're going to have to send a taxi to pick them up. But 12 months after I left him, I got this letter from Australian Quarantine to say that I had actually received permission. I got him in a taxi to Vienna, a plane to Dubai. Tiggin, Tiggy, come here, Tiggin.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you to Tiggin and Timco. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, every now and then you'll be at a performance and witness something extraordinary, something you and that particular audience share as one of those unforgettable experiences that you never saw coming. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter, Darren Percival, also known as Mr. Percival, is that very experience. Please welcome Mr. Percival.
I know, 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 I know. Said I know just what it's like to be alone. I know, I know, I know, I know. Since you called me on the phone, I know, I know, I know, I know. Left me all alone, darling. Well, she left me all alone. I know, 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 I know. But I'm gonna leave that girl alone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. I know, 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 I know. Just what it's like to feel alone. I know, I know, I know. Some of you know what it's like to feel alone. I know, 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 I know. Said I'm gonna leave that girl alone. Yes, I'm gonna leave that girl alone. Said I'm gonna leave that girl alone. Ain't no sunshine. Ain't no sunshine. Ain't no sunshine, ain't no sunshine, ain't no sunshine, ain't no sunshine, ain't no sunshine. Well, since my baby's gone, ain't no sunshine. Talking about since my baby's gone, ain't no sunshine. Talking about since my baby's gone, ain't no sunshine. Talking about since my baby's gone, ain't no sunshine.
I myself am a magnificent singer. Well, I am, and I know that I am, because I was singing at home recently. It was at the weekend, and one of the neighbors threw a brick through the window so that he could hear better. And so I think that's, fairly obvious. And also, I used to play piano in a band many, many years ago. And that didn't work out because it was a marching band. And it was exhausting, to be honest with you, but... Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a story about a serial entrepreneur. Our next speaker, at age 25, co-founded Blueprint Management Group with just $5,000 in capital and sold it a decade later for over $100 million. Would you please welcome Creel Price.
Goal set, I came back to Australia and met up with Trevor Folsom, one of my old friends from my finance days, and we decided to throw $5,000 in each, and we founded Blueprint with, to be honest, more hope than promise. We didn't even have a client. And through those early years, with not really having much startup capital, in fact, we didn't have another capital injection until we actually sold the business 10 years later, but we went through lots of failures and ups and downs, but I shared with Trevor, I said, mate, it's just like climbing a mountain, this business thing. We've just got to keep getting through these obstacles after obstacles, and if we can keep our eye on our vision, we're finally going to get there. So we decided to actually convert my personal goal of being a millionaire before I was 30 into a joint goal, where we said that when the company makes our first net $1 million profit in a 12-month period, we'd go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro together and we'd take 10 of our staff. Well, to cut a very, very long story very, very short, if we fast forward 5 years, we were doing pretty well in business, but not probably well enough. And I walked into my office and there was an A4 sheet on my door which said K-I-L-I, and I thought, well, that's a little curious. And Eddie, the financial controller, when he came in, I said, mate, what's the story? And he said, you wouldn't believe it. But he said, check out the profit and loss. I've just done the P&L for last month after we got that big bit of business. And we'd made $1,012 profit. And it was literally 2 weeks before my 30th birthday. So ever since then, I've had this religious awe of setting goals and sharing them with anyone who'd listen. 5 years later, we did actually sell the business for $109 million, but I guess it's, in some ways, it really it was pretty lucky because 3 days later, Bear Stearns crumbled, and we consider ourselves pretty fortunate that we didn't get messed up in the whole financial crisis. But anyway, I now train entrepreneurs for a living, and as John mentioned, I do work at the Branson Centre for Entrepreneurship, which is pretty amazing. So one of the things that I do want to leave with you today is that I do train adults and kids, as you can see, my first book, Curtis the Kidpreneur, hopefully envisaging memories of my days as a strawberry farmer. But my final message and the moral to the story is entrepreneurs really do need to start, grow and exit their business. Just be a little careful on the exit. Thank you.
I think I can top that. At age 10, I became an entrepreneur. In very simple terms, what happened is my dog died. That's the beginning of the story. One little tip I can give you on that is always adjust the collar of the dog as it gets older. And it's easy to be wise after the event. It was a lovely dog too, an interesting dog. It was a cross between a Rottweiler and a collie, so quite often it would go out and attack people, but then go and get help, which was lovely. We had some interesting pets. We had an Irish cat that used to go into the garden, do its business, and then bury itself. Anyway, the dog died, and my father said, "John, it was your dog, you must bury the dog." So I began to dig a hole for the dog. After 10 minutes of digging, my mother came out and said, "There's a phone call for you." So I put the dog on the blade of the spade, went into the house, took the call, and when I came back, by mistake, it was an accident, I stepped on the handle of the spade, thus projecting the dog, catapulting the dog really, up into the air, over our garden fence, and into the street, and into the oncoming path of a gentleman driving a Mercedes-Benz. And when I got out into the street, he was out of his car. He said, "Is that your dog, son?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't even see it coming." He said, "I'm so sorry. Here's 20 quid. Please give that dog a decent burial." And that was the day that I became an entrepreneur, really, because I made £80 that day. Due not only to my growing ingenuity, but also to the help of my mother's sewing kit, because, well, yeah, it was messy. Success is not always pretty. And to be honest with you, that was my undoing in the end, because the last guy that hit the dog said, "No wonder it didn't see me, it's got buttons for eyes." Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter needs little introduction. He's one of Australia's most sought-after stand-up comedians. He's also a talented writer, actor and producer. He went from being a starving refugee at the age of 3 to a successful commercial lawyer to one of Australia's best-loved entertainers. Please join me in welcoming a very special Australian, Ando.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. Wow, it's great to be here, guys. Thank you. How many of you guys saw me on Dancing with the Stars? Can I show of hands? About 4 people. I'm from Sydney. I come from a suburb in Sydney called Yagoona. Yagoona's rough and tough, man. I went to Yagoona High. It's the only school when they take end-of-year photos, they take front and side shots. But we lived there because we were poor, and I remember growing up poor for years. I prayed to God for a new bike for Christmas. Please, God, a new bike would be fantastic. Got nothing. I figured out God doesn't work that way. So I went, stole a bike, then prayed for forgiveness. Much more effective. So after the war finished, my mum's 2 older brothers were put into concentration camps. They were supposed to be there for 2 weeks. They were there for 3 years. And other prisoners around them were being executed randomly. My mum's really worried about her brothers. So what happens? My father, a 25-year-old Vietnamese kid, he goes and he steals a high-level communist soldier's uniform and paperwork. He walks right through the front door of the jail. He says, "These 2 guys need to come with me right now. I just need to take these 2. They let my uncles go. True story, my father pulled off one of the greatest rescues in the Vietnam War with another guy's ID. Even Asians think all Asians look the same. Come through. And we settled in the western suburbs, but as soon as we arrived, Mum and Dad said, "Kids, what about this great country, Australia, where your destiny is in your own hands, where freedom exists, where if you have a dream and you go for it, you can really make something of your life." My father's got this Vietnamese saying. Loosely translated, it goes something like this. There's only 2 times in life. There's now and there's too late. That's it. There's no past, present, future. There's now and too late. Dad's philosophy, give it a crack, kid, see what happens. Mum's philosophy is very different. Mum's philosophy is feed everyone. I mean, she almost starved on the boat. She just loves to cook. Spends her whole life cooking in the kitchen, you know, cooking up stuff. Up until I was 5, I thought my name was Taste This. Grew up poor, man. Telstra called up one time. They said, "Arn, why have we not received payment for your phone bill?" I said, "Oh, yeah, that's because your bill has been placed in a queue." Yeah. All my dollars are currently busy. I have a thing called bill waiting. My mum said life is a blessing. Indeed it is. Who we are, we're born with gifts and talents and abilities. We owe it to ourselves to dream big dreams that make us jump out of bed in the morning, that excite us, and then to get out there, give it a crack, and see what happens. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our next speaker has something quite extraordinary in store for us, a view of what the future holds and the real power of our brain. She has been cited as one of Fast Company's most influential women in technology in 2010 and has been honored by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader since 2009. She's also a former Young Australian of the Year. We're very fortunate to have her with us today. Please welcome Tan Le.
Well, the human brain has always been a subject of great fascination. Since the 1920s, when we first started studying human EEG, the electrical signals that can be measured at the surface of the scalp, which result from neurons firing, we have dreamed and imagined of a time when it might be possible for us to control and influence our environment simply with our minds. First of all, in games and virtual worlds, your facial expressions can be used naturally and intuitively to control an avatar or virtual character. Obviously, you can experience the fantasy of magic by being able to control objects in the game just by thinking about it, just using your mind. Another really interesting application is to be able to manipulate and allow your emotions to drive the way in which the environment actually changes. So in this case, the light changes to a dark red when you're feeling excited. It can also be applied to real-life, real-world applications, such as being able to, in this case, some really life-changing applications, such as being able to control an electric wheelchair. In this case, facial expressions are used to and are mapped to the movement-based commands.
Now blink right to go right. Now blink left, turn back left. Now smile to go straight.
This is a really simple example of something that Intel piloted with us. When I started working with this technology, I always thought that it had the potential to change the world in some way. But now that I'm able to share my technology with people all over the world, thousands and thousands of people, I'm really inspired by how it's able to positively impact people's lives every day. So thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very special presentation now, an opportunity to meet a remarkable person, Jill Hicks. There are very few people who can speak about an event as tragic as the 2005 London bombings in such an engaging and uplifting way as Jill. Equally, there are few people who have endured such unimaginable trauma and are able to rejoice and celebrate just being alive. Her appreciation is infectious and her gratitude humbling. Ladies and gentlemen, Jill has just flown in from London to be with us today, so please join me in a very special welcome, Jill Hicks.
It's coming on strong today, tonight. And if you look into my eyes, then you will see the morning light. And if you think that I'm alright, come on and take a closer look. You never know what you will find. Yeah! You feel the danger.
I think in facing my own death, I've learnt a hell of a lot. about life. And in reading my arm bracelet that just rather chillingly was labelled one unknown, estimated female, I learnt a lot about humanity. And in surviving, but without legs, I learnt a hell of a lot about myself. Death's voice was absolutely beautiful. It urged me to come, to close my eyes and slip away. It reasoned with me, assessing my injuries and asking me, did I really want to live without legs? Did I really want to be disfigured, disabled, disadvantaged? I wanted to live. I was curious. I knew there was more. A new contract, so to speak, could be written for me to make a difference. Indeed, to embrace the unknown and to see what the hell I was made of. I chose life, knowing that it would be difficult and challenging, but it was my conscious decision. As I waited for rescue, and it was about an hour trapped in the train carriage, my thoughts focused only on survival. And it was clear that there is actually very little in life that matters. I didn't spare a single thought for the overdue gas bill, or that my in tray was bellowing over on my desk because I was a very proud workaholic at the time. Or indeed, following on from John's comments earlier, that my bum looked rather big in my pair of jeans, that I spent more than I earned. You know, these things didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the people that I loved and who loved me. They were all I thought about, and it was about finding that way to think, how can I have one more hug? How can I see them just one more time to tell them that I love them? And it was actually them, collectively, that kept me alive. I'm often asked, and I think that the greatest question I'm often asked is, how can I not feel any hatred towards those who committed this horrific act? And why am I so happy? And I have no signs of carrying any trauma, and all of that would be quite understandable. And my answer, and I never say this lightly, is because I was loved. I was wrapped in unconditional love and shown the brilliance of us, of humanity. And not just on that fateful day, but every single day since. Do I forgive? No. But I've chosen not to be a victim, but a survivor, and to use anger as a positive motivator, an emotion to call upon when the days get really tough and I need to be tougher.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my opportunity now and privilege to introduce Nanette Moulton. Nanette is one of the directors of Saxton and the driving force behind this amazing event. She will tell you a little about what's behind this event of Saxton and what else is to come. Please welcome Nanette.
Welcome, everybody, and what a morning. And I have to admit, I don't usually do mornings. But today I think we experience something that really makes us all tick, something that makes us strive to improve, and something that gives meaning to our lives, and something that Jill spoke so movingly of, and that is that today we experienced passion. The passion of the speakers and the performers that they showed us today in what they do and what they believe in. The passion that we at Saxton feel to bring you the very best. The passion the team put in here today to bring you a technically great event. And the passion you, our wonderful audience, have for learning new things, as evidenced by your attendance here today and wanting to be the best at what you do. Like Jill, I think life is all about passion. I hope we stirred your passion today, and that you leave here feeling invigorated, informed, educated and enlightened, and ready to take on whatever life throws in your way.
But I'd like just for a moment to reflect briefly on the wonderful presenters that we've had, every one of them filled with purpose and conviction. As Mohandas Gandhi said, in prayer it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart. And there was so much heart here today. So while it is time to say goodbye, let's finish with something very special to remind us of just that and this wonderful experience.
Lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole.
Se non ci sei tu con me su le finestre, mostra tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso.
Chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. It's time to say goodbye e con te partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, non esistono più. Con te io vivrò, con te
Absolutely outstanding. And what a way to finish a very special day. Please join me in thanking Harmony and Daryl Lovegrove. Well done. Thank you very much.